Hi guys, how's all my special needs friends and families doing? Are you guys ready for chapter 3 and 4 of Ghost Town at Sundown? Magic Tree House number 10. Remember, at the end of chapter 3, I'm going to ask you 2 questions, and at the end of chapter 4, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. This is our chapter book for our older population, but of course, you know, our little guys can absolutely listen too, because they might like mysteries too. All right, chapter 3 is Player Piano. And again, if I find some pictures, I'll definitely give you a show of them. Player Piano. Outside, the sad tune played on. "It's coming from there," said Annie. She crept toward a building that had a sign with the word hotel on it. Jack limped after her. Annie slowly pushed open a swinging door. They peeked inside. The fading daylight lit a piano in the corner of the room. The keys were moving up and down, but no one was there. "Yikes!" whispered Annie. "A ghost playing the piano?" Suddenly the keys were still. The air got very cold. No way," said Jack. "There's no such thing as a ghost." "We saw one in ancient Egypt," whispered Annie. "Yeah, but that was ancient Egypt," said Jack. Even so, his heart raced. "I'll look it up." Jack pulled out the Wild West book. He found a picture of a piano. He read aloud. Player pianos were popular in the Old West. The piano played automatically when someone pumped its floor pedals. Later, with the help of electricity, the piano played all by itself. Jack closed the book. "Phew, there was an answer," he said. "It must be electric, and somehow it came on." "I don't know. I didn't know they had electricity in the Wild West," said Annie. "They didn't," said Jack. He looked at Annie. "Oh man, let's get out of here," he said. Picture the piano and then peek it in. Let's see. Jack and Annie backed out of the hotel. When they got outside, they heard another sound. Horse hooves thumping against the hard ground. A cloud of dust seemed to be moving toward the town. As it got closer, Jack saw 3 riders. They were herding a small band of horses. "Hide," said Jack. "Where?" said Annie. Jack looked around wildly. He saw 2 barrels outside the hotel. "There," he said. Jack and Annie hurried to the empty barrels. Jack climbed inside one and tried to scrunch down. His hat wouldn't fit. He jumped out of the barrel and threw his hat into the hotel. "Mine too," said Annie. Jack grabbed hers and threw it. Then he scrambled back into the barrel, just in time. Jack heard the horses thunder into town. He peeked through a crack in the barrel and saw a blur of cowboys and horses go by. "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" men shouted. Jack heard the horses come to a halt. They stamped and snorted. All he could see were shadows through the crack. Dust covered Jack. He had to sneeze. He pinched his nose. "The creek bed must have dried up," a cowboy yelled. "This town's a ghost." "Yup, it gives me the shivers," said another. "Let's camp over on the rise." Jack really had to sneeze now. He pinched his nose tighter, but he couldn't stop the sneeze. He let out a choked "Achoo!" "What was that?" someone said. Just then a loud whine split the air. Jack saw a beautiful horse rear up. She had no rider or saddle, just a rope around her neck. She was as red as the sunset. She had a wild black mane and a white star above her eyes. "We can't keep fighting this one, boss," a cowboy yelled. "Yep, she wants her colt," another said. "We shouldn't have left him behind." Oh, so the horse is upset because they had to leave her baby behind. That's what a colt is. A colt is the baby. Look, there's them in the barrels hiding. And remember, they don't have hats on. They took them off. He was too slow, a growly voice said. We'll sell her when we cross the border. That's terrible, thought Jack. He knew Annie must be upset too. He just hoped she wouldn't jump out of the barrel. But the cowboys pulled the red horse away. The ground rang from the pounding of hoofs as they galloped off. Jack and Annie stood up. They watched the riders disappear into the dust. A pounding faded away. All was quiet again, except for the lazy buzzing of flies. They were mean to that horse, said Annie in a low, angry voice. I know, but there was nothing we could do, said Jack. His boots were killing him. He climbed out of the barrel. Man, I have to get these off, he said. Jack sat down on the porch of the hotel. He grabbed the foot of one boot and pulled. Jack, said Annie, I think there is something we can do. What? Jack looked up. A small horse was running down the road. He was as red as the wild mother's horse. He had the same black mane and white star above his eyes. A rope was around his neck. He looked very lost. All right, that's the end of chapter 3. You guys ready to answer yes and no's to these questions? Remember, you can use your yes and no nods, communication device, or if you have words, you can use them. And whoever's watching the story with you can help you figure out what the answer is. So, first question, where did Jack and Annie hide? The two choices are in a barrel, yes or no, in a barn, yes or no. That's the first question from chapter 3. And the second question from chapter 3 is, what did Jack see running down the road? A dog, yes or no? Or a horse, yes or no? Those are tricky questions. You guys ready for chapter 4? It's called Hands Up. I wonder what this chapter is going to be about. It's the colt, said Annie. He's looking for his mother. She ran toward the wild-eyed little horse. Wait, called Jack. Oh, brother. He pulled the book out of his pocket. He found a chapter titled Horses of the Wild West. He started reading. At the end of the 1800s, over 1 million wild horses called Mustangs wandered the West. These tough, fast horses were descendants of runaway Spanish horses. Mustang herders captured them and sold them to ranchers, breaking a wild Mustang to a great skill. Jack turned the page. There was a picture of a herd of horses. 2 of them even looked like the beautiful mare and her colt. That's okay, a little bit. Thank you. Hey, Annie, Jack called. You should see this picture. Annie didn't answer. Jack looked up. Annie was trying to get close to the young Mustang, but he kept darting away. Watch it. He's wild, said Jack. Annie was speaking softly to the colt. She slowly reached out and grabbed the end of his rope. Still talking to him, she led him to a broad wooden post. Oh, it's so nice that they're trying to help the colt. Stop! Don't do anything, said Jack. He flipped the pages of his book. He found a section called How to Treat a Horse. The basic rules on how to treat a horse are simple. A soft hand, a firm voice, a sunny attitude, praise, and reward. I've got the rules, shouted Jack. Don't do anything before I write them down. Jack pulled out his notebook and pencil. He wrote horse rules. 1, soft hands. 2, firm voice. 3, sunny attitude. 4, praise. 5, reward. Jack's a smart guy. Okay, listen, Jack looked up. But Annie was already sitting on the colt's back. Jack froze. He held his breath. The Mustang whined and pawed the ground. He snorted and tossed his head. Annie kept patting his neck and talking to him softly. Finally, the horse grew still. Annie smiled at Jack. I named him Sunset, she said. Jack let out his breath. Let's go, said Annie. We have to take him to his mom. Are you nuts? Said Jack. We have to solve our riddle. It'll be dark soon, and those guys were real bad guys. I could tell. We don't have any choice, said Annie. Oh, brother. Jack knew she wouldn't change her mind. Let's see what the book says. He read more about Mustangs. Wild Mustangs live together in families. The bond between a mare and her young is still very strong. His sounds of distress or anger will always bring her to him. A Mustang cannot bear to wander alone. Sorry. Jack groaned. He looked at Sunset. This young Mustang did have a sad look in his eyes. Okay, we'll make a plan, he said. But first, I have to get out of these boots. Jack grabbed one of his boots and pulled. Hurry, said Annie. I can't even think in these things, said Jack. He huffed and puffed and pulled. Then a deep voice stopped him cold. Hands up or I'll shoot. Jack let go of his boot. He raised his hands in the air. So did Annie. A cowboy rode out of an alley. His face was bony and tanned. He was riding a gray horse and pointing a six-shooter. I reckon you're the smallest horse thieves I've come across, he said. Ooh. That's the end of chapter 4, but here's a picture for the start of chapter 5, and it's called Slim. All right, you guys ready for chapter 4's questions? Chapter 4. Ready? Did Annie follow the basic rules on how to treat a horse? Yes or no? Remember, you can use your communication devices, your head nods, or use your words, use your voice. Ready for the second question? What did Annie name the horse? Was it Alex? Yes or no? Or Sunset? Yes or no? Those are some pretty tricky questions. I hope you guys enjoyed chapters 3 and 4 tonight. And I'll see you tomorrow for chapters 5 and 6. Remember, chapter 5 is called Slim. And here's the picture to the start of chapter 5. I wonder what we're going to learn in this chapter, 5 and 6. I hope you guys have a great night. Bye.